What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to episode 27 of Domiciled, the podcast that explores the subculture of truck drivers as well as logistics professionals, bringing their stories to the masses. I'm your host, Scott Cleary. As you know, before we kick things off, we got to talk about Purple Squirrel, our buddies over there. So, Purple Squirrel, if you've listened to us, you know, represents freight agents, freight brokerages, and freight forwarding companies. If you'd like to learn more, reduce your liability, and grow your career, you should have a chat with Ryan Smith over at Purple Squirrel about becoming an independent agent. They represent multiple broker and forwarding companies, allowing them to provide you with several career offers. You have options, let them advocate on your behalf. So, folks tuning in, as you can see, I am without Paul tonight. He had to fly out to Nashville for some work. And, he had some things going on. So it's myself and our wonderful guest. So I'm just going to bring right on in. I think you guys are going to not think, I know you're going to love this one. I don't know what we have done to be blessed with so many fantastic people being a newer podcast, but I'm just going to get right into this one because it's a little bit different. So one does not typically associate something as blue collar and rugged as driving trucks or hauling equipment with art, creativity, or beauty right away, right? But I guarantee there are many artistic souls out there who pay their bills by moving the goods and services we need to survive. Frankly, that's why Domiciled was created. It was to do our humble part of getting the stories and personalities of America's backbone out into the world. So now, having said that, our next guest is what I would call the poster child of the unique mix previously described. From a young age, she always felt she was mechanically inclined and proved as much during her U.S. Air Force testing. Incredibly high scores led to her operating most types of heavy equipment up to 375,000 pounds. That's the equipment itself, not even what she was moving. But again, I'm going to let her explain all that. So rumor has it, she needed all of her weight to apply the clutch on some of this very equipment. Again, we'll dive further into that as well. So after 30 years in freight and logistics, my neighbor in the Northport, Sarasota area now runs her own small business called Fine Boat Wraps. So she's going to talk about that and much more today. I'm excited to see where this conversation goes. And this time we even have pictures. Yes, that's right. We have pictures this time. So make sure, check this out on the YouTube channel so you can see what it is we're talking about. We'll make sure to describe as much as we can for you. But thank you so much for your service and welcome to the show, Ramona Patterson, aka Savage Granny. How are we doing?
Hey, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. I appreciate you hopping on. What have you been up to lately since we last had our little chat?
Just working on proposals to send out to different companies to collaborate and use my art because it's actual art. It's not computer generated. It's not AI. And so I think that there's a little bit of a backlash against the computer generated art. So I feel like that gives my business model a bit of a unique value proposition.
I see. Okay. And do you think that's because that is so easy to render and create these images now that you're having to show, hey, and correct me if I'm wrong, because there's nothing artistic about me whatsoever. So help me understand that a bit better. Is it because people can just generate these so easily and you're saying, no, this is actually my work that my mind, my brain, my creativity goes into, or is it something else?
I think that there becomes a kind of a fatigue where everything looks the same. Like you can tell that it's computer generated. You can tell some of the designs that are AI. And so they're, like people are like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. But then there's also people who are like, you know what? I'm a small business owner or I dabble in art part-time and I would much rather support a local artist and have them design something uniquely for me, not something that every Tom, Dick, and Harry can get on the internet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So okay, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, and that's how I am myself. Before we started recording, I mentioned I'm from a small town and I grew up myself in a small business. My parents had food stores and they were the owners, but one of them was always there every morning I woke up. So I've always been a fan of supporting local. I'd rather go with a small business or, it doesn't have to be like a one-off person, but even if it's just like a small local business that just seems organized, put together, they do a good job. I'm with you there. So yeah, I'd much rather use somebody local than a big box, or like I said, go on Fiverr and just any Tom, Dick, or Harry, any Harry, Dick, or Tom, right?
Yeah,
As
exactly.
the song goes, So, going back to the intro a little bit as well, you're wearing a very colorful, if anybody who's not watching, maybe listen on Spotify, a very colorful top on, really cool earrings, and, nice hair, glasses, all the art and you're just bedazzled. Look at you. And so like, you wouldn't guess like, hey, this lady's an Air Force veteran. She drove some big equipment around. So we're going to get into the art stuff and the Fine Boat Wraps company. I can't wait to talk about that, but we got to start with the logistics stuff. So walk us through, the mechanical inclinations. Hey, I'm going to get into hey, mom and dad, I'm going to the Air Force. Like, how did all this start outside of just being mechanically inclined?
I'm one of 7 kids and kind of in the middle, 3 brothers. And when I was in the 6th grade, I knew my dad was in the Air Force, and he showed us some pictures of him. And he was a tail gunner on a B-29. And I'm just like, oh, that is like so cool. And I remember telling my mom, like in the 6th grade, I'm joining the Air Force. I'm going to Germany. I'm going to be a singer and a dancer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I never wavered. And then growing up, my brothers and my dad were all very mechanically inclined. Just think of the muscle car era.
Oh, yep.
Like Saturday nights, we would go sit at the lake, and all the cool muscle cars would go driving by really, really slow, and
all
like
slow and loud, growling.
Yeah, so I've always there's something about that sound of a really throaty engine that you can just feel it in your bones, and I just if I could choose any car on the planet that I could ever, choose any car that you want, I wouldn't buy a brand new car. I would want I would want a resto mod, but like a 57 Chevy Nomad, the 2-door version. But those cars had style and class, and they were beasts. They were just beasts. So, and then that's where my mechanical inclination came from. That's really just
So real quick, you said your father was a tail gunner. Was that in World War II, or when was that?
Korea. He was in Korea.
He was in Korea. Okay. So the reason I asked is my grandfather was a bubble gunner in World War II over in the Pacific Theater. Sorry, tail gunner. He was also a tail gunner, not a bubble gunner. That was even more dangerous. But so I was like, all right, so I could tell we were going to get along when we had our little chat. Now we've already had 2 things in common, 5 minutes into the show. Both of us have family members who are tail gunners in a war, and thanks to both of them as well for their service. And you said you love muscle cars, so it's not an old late 50s, early 60s, but I personally drive a Mustang GT 6-speed manual, so I think you'll at least appreciate. I can't get the 60s one, but it's pretty close as far as the American muscle that's available today, unless you're going to go real old school.
Yeah. My last car was a Mustang. It was a 5-speed. So
there you go.
It's like when you have an engine that is so powerful, it deserves to be driven. It deserves the gears to be shifted. It deserves for you to hear the motor. It deserves to be driven properly. And I just feel like a big muscle car like that, it's not right to make them an automatic. It's not right.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and I never learned how to drive stick. So I bought this car not knowing how to drive stick. I got with a guy who had, I found online. Let me go back real quick. So I was looking at this car. I was like, it was time for me to get a new one. I had a 2015, 6-cylinder Mustang, but it was race red, but it was automatic. It was just a great starter car. I got lucky. There's a Mustang. I love Mustangs. And then years later, making some more money. I was just for some reason just dying to get a GT. Really, really wanted one. Always wanted like a Cobra, and obviously can't afford one of those necessarily as a daily driver. But I was on Auto Traders looking very specifically, and I found the car I have now. and it's race day red, black accent package. And I remember one or two nights just losing sleep because I couldn't think about anything but buying that car. And I was like, all right, it's time to go buy this thing. So I found a guy online who taught how to drive manual. I took a class with him. It was like 2 hours just driving around in the Brandon area, and Brandon, Valrico, and near Tampa, for all those who don't know where that is, in Tampa, Florida. And just a brand new Honda Civic, so not even close to what it was I was about to purchase without knowing it. And then struggled my way home with the car. I didn't even test drive it, just bought it, drove it home, stalled out twice, and taught myself on that car. So I exactly what you're explaining, the emotion coming from you, I get, and that's exactly how I feel too. That's so cool.
Yeah, my brother had a 65 Mustang Fastback, and he taught me how to drive. He had like the Hurst shifter, the chain link steering wheel, and
oh man,
and I was like peeling out, man. Like,
oh, I bet you're gonna have to show me how to properly drive my Mustang. I think.
Nah, I think you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out.
We'll see. I've driven it hard, but I've never done anything too crazy because I'm always on the street, right? So I can't get too excited. My favorite is accelerating out of exits, like onto and out of exits and stuff like that. Put in sport mode and just see you later. Ain't nobody catching me except the Tesla, but those don't count. Oh gosh. So you said I'm going to the Air Force. I'm not wavering from that. So you decided to go into the Air Force. Then what?
Well, then I learned how they assigned me to a transportation division, and
because of your test scores, right?
Yeah, because of my test scores, and I had a boss. I had two bosses, and one was willing to teach me everything. Like, it was just amazing. I'm like, if I want to drive that, he'd be like, okay, let's go.
Do it.
And this boss who taught me how to drive everything, I told him, like, my dream, I want to go to Germany. And the old cranky boss was like, oh, you got to be on base 3 years before we're going to send you anywhere. And the good boss says, come with me. We go off base. And this is before Dunkin' Donuts. And there's this like homemade donut place. And he buys like 24 donuts. We go back on the base. Wow. He takes me to the assignment office where you fill out your paperwork and say, I want to go here, here, and here. He introduces me to everyone there, hands him the donuts. And then he's like, she wants to go to Germany. And like he said, every Friday you bring them donuts. And as soon as the job comes up that you're available for, you're going to get it. And sure enough, I wasn't even on base a year and I had orders to Germany. So that's when I learned people are everything.
Yes.
You can follow the rules, but if you learn how to make them work to your advantage, that's a very important thing.
So. How can I bend these to work in my favor? Yeah, was that the picture you sent me with your buddy Walt there?
No, that was actually that's my last boss. That's my last boss in the Air Force. So that was up at Northern Maine, up at Loring Air Force Base. Okay,
so we'll get to the photos in a little bit because I'd love to just hear what your thoughts on each one or what you want to tell about each one. So where were you stationed where you had this boss that introduced everybody, got the donuts, and got you to Germany?
It was Shreveport, Louisiana, Barksdale Air Force Base, which is 4 hours due north of where I grew up. And I'm like, I'm not even leaving the state. I'm supposed to be traveling the world. I'm not even leaving the state. So and then I got sent to Frankfurt, Rhine-Main, Germany. And actually and then my last base was Loring Air Force Base for 4 years. But here's a funny story about meeting people at the assignment office. There was this guy there named Frankie. And Frankie had cousins who lived in Germany. And so Frankie got himself an assignment to Hawaii. But in the meantime, before that, he got his assignment. He had bought a ticket to go visit his family up in New York City. And back in the day, you couldn't just refund your ticket, anything like that, So he gave me his ticket. And I went and stayed with his family in New York City. And his cousin from Germany was Ushi Stuckerman. I'll never forget it. Was staying.
Can't forget that name. Yeah.
I know. Ushi was staying at his family's house. So she and I hit it off. And then when I got sent over to Germany, I sent her a letter. And she was waiting at the gate for me when I got to my first base. And I dropped off my suitcases, and then we went out to downtown Frankfurt my very first night, and I had like a tour guide.
That is so cool. So you knew exactly, you already had a buddy and she showed you around, so you knew the
Yeah,
stomping grounds pretty quick.
it was great. The best food, the best beer, all the good stuff.
And that's fantastic. And I haven't been. I'm going to Europe actually in about 10 days, but I haven't been to Germany yet. So I would like to check it out. And what made you want to be based in Germany?
Because I just in the reading, I read a lot as a kid, and
Mhm.
in all the books, I just could imagine, like, they show you the castles on top of the mountains and the history and the mountains. Growing
Yeah.
up in Louisiana, there are no mountains, so
Mhm.
I just wanted to. And then it's a great base to you can hop on the train and be in another country in an hour.
It's
So
wild,
and
right?
the military has a lot of bases in Germany, so that, the odds of me getting over to Germany was pretty good.
Pretty
Yeah.
decent. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's what's so cool about Europe too, is just being able to take a speed train for an hour, 2 hours, or a 1 hour flight, and you're in a completely different world, right?
Yeah.
And you can do something similar in the US, right? We're just so vast, you're still in the same country. But if you take a 2 hour flight again, Tampa to to somewhere in Louisiana, pretty different world. But not to that degree, right? Being able to go Spain to Germany to Ireland, Greece, Italy, it's just France, completely different, completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy you got to do that. That's fantastic. So as far as what overall was, tell us about your job, what you did for the Air Force, and maybe some of your favorite things that you moved, and maybe some of the least favorite things you moved. And you tell me when it's time to bring up pictures, and we'll go to there. But
Okay.
just talk to us about that.
One of my most favorite things to operate, I loved operating
Hmm.
tractor trailer just
Okay.
because there's so many different type of trailers. And one of the very first training drives I was on with my good boss, we had a dozer on a flatbed, and he takes me through a construction site that has the concrete barriers like this. And I
Yeah, yeah.
am like thinking, oh, the blade is going to hit these concrete barriers. It's just going to rip the dozer right off the trailer. But he
Yeah.
knew that there was clearance, but it was maybe like 2 inches of clearance.
Just
And
enough.
when you're sitting up in the cab, 2 inches of clearance. But I just, the bigger the equipment, the happier I am. So I got to operate coach buses. Like when air crews go out on a mission, the pilots go
Hmm.
out on a mission, you have to pick them up on the airfield. They meet at a certain place to get briefings. Then you take them to
Hmm.
another building to get their weapons. Then they all get back on the bus. You take them to another building to get their weather briefing. Then you drive them out to the plane. They take off. And then a few hours later, you go and do it all in reverse. It was
Yeah,
kind of like being a taxi for pilots, but it was a great opportunity to read a lot because there's a lot of waiting going on. So
sure.
yeah, so tractor trailers, buses. In when I was in Shreveport, and then when I got
Hmm.
stationed over in Frankfurt, Germany, I was with what's called USAF, U.S. Air Forces in Europe, and all
Okay.
the mail that comes in and out of Europe for all the military goes into Frankfurt. I don't know if that's still the case, but then in '78, that was the case.
Hmm.
So all the mail, the money, bodies go in and out of Frankfurt. So stuff like that. So we had an office in the Frankfurt International Airport because we shared the runway. So Rhein-Main
Hmm.
Air Base shared the runway with Frankfurt International Airport. So my first job was to grab the boys who were, because we had a big mail facility. And
Hmm.
so I would get all the guys who were actually, they call it throwing mail, and drop them off because you couldn't have your civilian cars over there. And then
Hmm.
from there, that I would have like trailers filled with mail that I would have to take to different locations. You
Throughout
know,
Germany or just other Air Force
it
bases,
just
I assume,
Germany.
right?
It's just throughout
Yep.
Germany, yeah. Other Air Force bases, and then like on our base to the post office. So I was
Hmm.
delivering stuff to the post offices, and it was the first time I ever really got uh, an idea of the magnitude of mail that comes in and out of Europe. And it
I can only
starts like
imagine.
Right. And back then it was that everything was shipped over on, I'm sure it still happens this way, on a cargo ship, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and containers. And whenever a Sealand container would come in, I always knew there was a package from my mom. It was funny, like we all got packages from home when the Sealand container comes
Yeah,
in. But yeah, so I never had to unload or load the trailers, but it was just moving them around, things like that. Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
then
So there's all sorts of different types of experience, it seems like.
Yeah, and then you can even there was a girl that I worked with,
Mm-hmm.
and her husband worked on the other side of the base in a combat mobility squadron, and he and I had the same classification. And so
Okay.
we switched jobs because they wanted to work together and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go do his job. And so I was working with like 747 loaders. Imagine like a scissor lift with a bunch of wheels on it, and
Yeah.
you'll take a pallet, open up the back of a C5 or a C-130, and then you're rolling pallets into the back of a plane. And there is when I got to see the hostages come home.
Oh,
It was,
must be great.
yeah, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was the day that President Reagan took over from Jimmy Carter. So it was his first day in office, and carry the big stick thing. And
Mm-hmm.
we knew that this was happening. So we were watching it on Air Force TV in the barracks. I'm like, what am I doing? I have a flight
I'm
line
right there.
badge.
Yeah.
I'm like 2 blocks away. So I ran over there, and the plane was landing. And it was like it was still dark, and there were stars in the sky, but yet the sun was coming up, and they just came down the steps, and it was just the most moving, emotional thing I've ever seen. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah.
No, I can only imagine. I'm getting to see that, serving in our military is valiant, right? And it's something that we all appreciate. And unfortunately, the job of the military can be a very ugly one, right? So
Mm.
seeing something like that, that's just like you said, it's just got to make your heart very heavy, and must be quite an emotional experience too. So I'm happy you got to see that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing. And I liked that job a lot because I got to drive like the big ATs and RTs, the articulating forklifts, the big giant ones, the
Mm-hmm.
25,000 pound forklifts. And so I got
Oh
to
my
do that.
gosh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, my last year and a half in Germany, I was part of a thing called USAF Showcase. And what that is sort of like I'm almost 66. So in the 70s, there was this show called The Solid Gold Hits of the 70s. And it was women in one-piece bathing suits, and it was like a variety show. So they had a
Okay.
full band. So we had a full band. We traveled all around Europe, in the Middle East, and we put on a 2-hour show. We had
Oh
like
wow.
14 horns. We had a magician. We had an MC. We put on like a 2-hour show, and like all these musical numbers and costume changes. And it was like a really cool thing, but it made me
Mm-hmm.
realize that being an entertainer is only fun when you're on stage. Because when you're in the military, they don't give you roadies,
Yeah.
So,
You're doing it all
my
yourself, right?
oh yeah, everybody had a job. I was like microphones and wiring and stuff. So, but yeah, so you're setting up the show, go into your room in the barracks, take a shower, get ready for the show. And then if it's only
Mm-hmm.
one night, then you got to break the show
Oh my
down.
gosh.
Yeah. It was glamorous, well, like I said, when you were on stage, but
Mm-hmm.
yep. And
A
then
lot of work.
yeah. And then I got stationed 4 years in northern Maine, and that's where I drove the big rollover snowplow, towed bombers and tankers with the big
Okay.
U-30s, the MB2s, and yeah, that's what I did there.
So that's when you're moving the planes, the B-52s and all that?
Yeah, and the
Oh my gosh.
C5s, the
Okay.
AWACS. Yeah.
So I think that's a good segue into some of the crazy, because you've mentioned some of the interesting stuff you've driven, and frankly, I don't know what a lot of that stuff is. So unless you know of the equipment, it's not something you hear every day. We talked, oh yeah, tractor trailer, dry van, flatbed, right? Even we've talked to some heavy haul folks and some people who've hauled some interesting things. But I mean, again, when we were chatting on the phone, you told me about, I don't want to bury the lead. So you told me about some of the wild stuff that you moved, like, again, the planes, the B-52s. So to talk about that a little bit, because, again, I want you to explain it, because the way you explained it was, you really put it into perspective.
Well, when you're at a strategic air command base, so different bases have different designations. Some of them are military airlift command, and I was stationed a lot as a strategic air command base. So basically that's like, we're the guys going out to fight. We're like, we're out there. So every SAC, it's called SAC base. Every SAC base has what they call an alert cage. And in the alert cage, there are like 4 or 5 fully loaded bombers, 4 or 5 fully loaded tankers. Because once a bomber takes off, they're using B-52, they're using a lot of their fuel, so have to be refueled immediately. They're really heavy, and they're loaded with nuclear weapons. So in this cage, first of all, you have to go through this whole security thing just to get in the cage. Only certain people can get in the cage. And every 72 hours, you hook up to them every 72 hours and just pull them forward or back a little bit so they don't get a flat spot on their tires.
Because you mentioned that because they're that heavy that you have to move them.
Every 72 hours. It's like one of those things you just got to take care of. And then one time I was moving one, and we had like special clearance to take it out of the cage, fully loaded, into a hangar. But the hangar there's like a hill that went down, and the hangar was down and on the left.
Oh boy.
Well, even though the big uke that I showed you in the picture, it's called a Euclid. We call it uke for short. The big Euclid had chains on it.
These guys?
That's the one on the right.
So, this one. Okay.
Yeah, in the winter, you put chains on it, on both of them. And so I'm going down the hill, and I have to turn a nice, calm left turn to get the nose of the plane into the hangar. But the plane is pushing me, and I have no way to tell anybody. So I'm just kind of like drifting, and the plane is pushing me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is my last day on Earth. I'm thinking like, I'm going to die. We're going to hit. I want to be over this so fast, right? But we slid in there like I knew exactly what I was doing, and I had no control whatsoever.
You knew exactly what it was. You had your angels. You had your angels with you. They were whispering in your ear, getting you in there.
I guess. But that beast right there, that's the one that's 375,000 pounds. The front bumpers are made of concrete and steel. It's got a horn on it like a train, but the windshield is like angled a little bit to keep you from having a glare in your face. And so when our coworkers would walk in front of the machine, if you happen to be in there, they couldn't see you because of the angle of the windshield. So we would lay on the horn. We would lay on the horn, scared her around.
I can't imagine what that horn must have sounded like. I mean,
oh man, you just felt like a train was coming. I mean, I hit the deck. I got that too. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take it and give it, right?
And when I first started driving the big one, the U30, I had a Subaru, a standard Subaru station wagon, and it took all of my strength. Like I had to hold onto the steering wheel because there was no way I was going to fail at operating this machine. I was so fascinated by it. And so like it was like I would hold on to the steering wheel and just shove my left leg down as hard as I could just to get the clutch in. But after a while, you get used to it. But then I'd go in my car at the end of my shift and just slam my clutch right down like
through the floor. Oh my God, I can only imagine. Your left leg must have been like 4 inches larger than your right one, just from all the muscle.
Oh, it was like Arnold.
Arnold, buns and thighs.
But I have to tell you another cool thing about those vehicles, and you'll see like some car companies talk about it where they'll turn in a 360-degree circle. Those machines will do that. They also have right? Yeah, and they also have this thing called oblique steering. So once you engage that steering, you can creep to the left or creep to the right a little bit. And that enables you to get out of the hangar if you go in at an angle. So there's a door for you to go out of, but the nose of the plane fits in there. So that'll help you kind of straighten things out. But
I see. Okay, so it all 4 wheels, like a monster truck or like the new Hummer EVs
Yeah,
they've got or whatever.
like the oblique steering, like all four wheels would be angled like to the left.
To the left.
So it just kind of slides over to the left, and then all four wheels you could angle them to the right. Just depending on which way you turn the steering wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So once it was just steering.
Yeah, that's a whole different kind of steering. That is so crazy. So obviously it's a smaller picture. So this vehicle itself weighs 375,000 pounds. It doesn't haul 375. It weighs that, and obviously can haul.
It weighs
at least that. It
yeah,
weighs
that's
that. So
gross vehicle weight. Yes.
So to put into perspective, should we go to the next picture then to put in perspective the size of this thing?
Sure.
Okay, because like from there again, it's a photo. Looks like, oh, that's pretty big. But then when you bring this up, it's like this is you and you said your last boss up in Maine, and that's the same vehicle, but that's you against the tire, right?
Yeah. The tire is 5 feet tall. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
And then,
That
like,
is
if
so
you look to
crazy.
the left, his name is Walt. If you look to the left, you'll see a little left of him, you'll see like indentations in the frame. That's how you crawl up to get, up to the engine to do any work on the engine. And then there's another step on the other side just to get in crawl up to get inside the machine, to get in the cab.
That's crazy. So you said that you said that that slide when you're coming down with the B-52 was scary, and you also said that crawling around the vehicle itself could be a little harrowing as well.
Oh yeah, especially because in northern Maine there's a lot of ice. Winter lasts a really long time, and those concrete and steel bumpers can get like iced up. And if you have all that ice on you, and I did this, I actually got in trouble for it. I was going a little too fast, and I came around the corner into the hangar where we stored the machines. And they had done some construction and cut like a little ditch in the pavement. And so I hit it just right, too fast, and the machine started bouncing. It started bouncing.
Really?
And because it has so much mass, it wouldn't stop bouncing. And so my boss is like standing there waving his arms, like, just stop the machine. Like, I'm slamming on the brake. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I'm like, oh my God. But it was still like bouncing a little bit. Like,
that's so crazy.
He's like, I think you should go home for the day. And I'm like, okay, well, bye.
Oh my gosh. It's just maybe what you're just a little shook from the experience, or
oh man, I tell you. It was
that's
a
crazy.
Little well, because he was trying to teach me a lesson.
Yeah, okay, a little reprimand, I see. So I mean, what you came in a little hot and you hit it at a funny angle, and so how much did it bounce?
It was like coming off like about 6 inches, but it just kept bouncing.
Yeah, it kept going.
It just kept bouncing. So crazy. Yeah,
kind of like a basketball. You drop it, and it just and like eventually it'll slow down, but it's like it takes a while.
But there's so much weight on this machine that it was just sort of like a Super Ball. Like, oh, this thing's not slowing down at all.
Oh, so was it kind of rapid, the bounce? Like, I'm just trying to envision
it was steady like this, but it was like I felt like it wasn't slowing down. And the way the look on his face, he
didn't like it.
Slowing down either.
It's like, I've never seen this before. Shut it off and go home. Oh my God. That's insane. I mean, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like from your position as well, being in there. It's again 6 inches. Okay, so about that. But like again, such a huge thing, and you're up there. It must have felt like the earth was shaking. Like earthquake.
My butt was lifting off the seat. Like, I'm in so much trouble.
Oh my gosh, too funny. Okay, so that's that in perspective, and then the last one is your military ID, and this is my favorite part about this is I'm sure
it's my driver's license, my military driver's license.
Your military driver's license. So basically, it's my favorite part. Right up top, restrictions none. Like, woman can drive anything.
Everything. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that.
That's very cool. I mean, so dive into a little bit more about what it is that's on there. You don't have to go through all of them, but just, you don't often see restrictions none, right? On anything. So,
Well, I had a top secret security clearance. I was in a combat mobility squadron. I had special chemical and germ warfare training. So like some pretty unique stuff. They call them warehouse tugs. They had farm tractors that when you're an operator, the military also teaches you to dispatch. So I was also dispatching age equipment, which is aerospace ground equipment, heaters, lights, power generators, things like that. But you still had to know how to operate like the tractors, the bobtail trucks, all kinds of different trucks. So yeah, different warehouse. There's floor sweepers in there, tenant floor sweepers, rollover snow plows. So you've lived in the Northeast. You've seen the DOT snow plows that are narrow on one end and really wide on the other. And then because they shoot the snow one way, and then these plows will flip over. So I'm qualified to operate rollover snow plows, the big giant snow blowers that eat up stuff. And actually up at Pease Air Force Base, when I got out of the Air Force, I worked for the Air Force as a civilian because I still had my top secret clearance. And so I was able to just basically walk onto the base and get a job on the flight line because I still had my flight line experience.
Very cool.
And so when my daughter flies up to visit her dad up in Maine, she lands at Pease, and she's like, every time I land, I tell everybody, my mom used to clear snow off of this runway. Like you do that whole stagger formation, and you just like haul ass, basically. Yeah.
That's just one swoop. That is super cool. But bummer to be the last snowplow in the end. That's probably the hardest part. But so did you have to operate each one of these and like complete a test or something like that? Or is like, hey, if you drove some X size, like these other ones fall under that?
You do have to be tested for everything in the military. When you do something in the military and you learn a new skill, it's called you sign off on it. Somebody has to sign a document saying, I trained her, she's properly trained. I have to sign a document that says he trained me, I'm properly trained. That way, when you get in the machinery and the equipment, if you do anything, they're like, she was properly trained. Look, he signed off. So
your ass on there.
Yeah, and they even have like this little novel that you have to write every time you get in a vehicle. You have to walk around it and check, are there scratches on it? What's the oil, air pressure in the tires? So it helps you be accountable to take care of the equipment.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So that's a lot of time you spend doing all that. I mean, there's probably about 20 to 30 vehicles listed just on this. That's really awesome. So that took a lot of time, a lot of dedication. So again, thank you for all that.
I loved it.
Oh, absolutely. So not to take a hard left, but I know you do want to talk about fine boat wraps.
Yes.
Do you want to get into that now, or is there anything else, military or post-military, that you want to go over and get out there?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's hear it. So tell us about fine boat wraps. Talk about what it is, where people can find you, what you do. We've talked a little bit about it, but I'm excited to hear more.
Okay, well, when you're on an Air Force base, there's always like a carpenter shop, ceramic shop, so you can do things. So I've always dabbled in some sort of art form in one form or another. But when I moved down here to Florida 10 years ago, I was joked with my daughter, I'm going to move to Florida, retire, and take painting lessons. And so for Christmas, my first year, she got me painting lessons with this Russian artist. And like, because I remember watching Bob Ross thinking, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I could do that, And so when the teacher would teach me, she wanted me to paint every leaf. And when she would turn away, I would like Bob Ross the hell out of it, I'll be like, she's not looking.
Happy tree. Right. Put a little.
Yeah. And then
it's a happy accident.
I love it. So when I started creating all these paintings, I was giving them away. And people are like, I would pay money for this. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And so every month I would save my money and get a painting photographed at a studio. And now I have like a portfolio of hundreds of paintings because eventually I knew I wanted to do something with my art, but I wasn't quite sure. So I ride the Legacy Trail in Sarasota, and I get off the Legacy Trail so I can go ride the Ringling Bridge because there's no hills in Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get off the Legacy Trail and it ends off Ringling at the Marina Jacks. And I'm like, I didn't have any money for any art canvases. I was like, look at all these boats, look at all these blank canvases. And it like hit me like, wait a second. They're wrapping cars. And I started doing research on boats, and I could see they were guys, a lot of AI and a lot of computer generated stuff. But there were guys out there. There's a couple of artists, like I think they're out of Australia, that are incredible painters of fish.
Okay.
Like nobody can beat their fish. They're beautiful. They're amazing. But I got to thinking not everybody's going to want to fish on their boat, no matter how pretty it is. And so I started making these designs for boat wraps. And what I do is I subcontract out the wrap no matter where you live. I find a certified installer. So I don't have to have an employee. I don't have to learn how to do the print. I don't have to learn how to do the install.
Yeah.
I just, find somebody in your area. I'm actually working on a houseboat in St. Pete. And then I'm working on a 25-foot robalo in Washington State right now.
That is so very cool. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you just subcontract out what you don't know how to do.
Right. So there's people everywhere who can perform the actual application of printing it however it's printed and then wrapping the boat. But it's your design. You created this. Hey, this is how it will look. They sign off on it, right? And then they pay you for the art. Subcontractor gets their piece for putting it on. Everyone's happy. Write me a review. Very cool.
For me, it's a one-time. How I get paid, it's a one-time licensing fee. So that way, that's their art. It's created just for them, and I like working with each person because it's important to me. That's their boat. They're paying a lot of money for it, and I want them happy with the art. Now, this guy in Washington, he met me at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show 2 years ago, and he hasn't stopped thinking. He's like, I went to Washington State. I wanted to cheat on you and find another artist. I can't find another artist that does what you do. And so he already knew exactly what he wanted. He sent me the 2 images, and in the photography studio that I work with, the girl who takes the photos of my art, she has a picture of his boat. He sent me pictures of his boat. Take the pictures of the art, the part of the design that he likes, and put it on his boat, send it to him. If he likes it, then we'll just ship it right over to his printer, and they print it and install it. Yeah.
Super cool.
And one of the really cool things, I brought a painting to show you.
Oh, please, yes.
One of the really cool things is that I can use just a section of the art. Yeah. Yeah. So if you see this piece, see how it looks like almost like a lobster claw in the dark blue. Let me get closer.
Or a tail, I totally see what you're saying.
So here's what the lobster claw looks like.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Now,
very cool.
Here's the same painting. Now you see that orange right there?
I was checking that out. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, it looks like the top view of a lobster or something like that.
Yeah, I actually call this one coral reef.
Or a coral. Okay. Yes. Now I see the coral. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, coral reef. And so that's just
wow.
Just a parcel wrap. But you just take a piece. So let's say that somebody, they're like, oh my God, I like this design so much. Let's say Jeep calls me and says, we want this design on all of our Jeep Wagoneers or something. Then they can just pay to own it. I block this off, but I still have the rest of the piece of art to make designs out of.
Yeah. So, I see. Okay. So they technically, like you said, they own the design for that. No one else can buy that design because you license it to them. But you have the rest of the painting. That is so cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then
so do you, please go ahead.
And then the computer girl, she can change the colors too. So.
Okay, yeah. If they, I want this a little brighter, or this, or like, hey, can you do yellow outline on that tail? Okay, I see what you're saying. And then, so do most of your designs? Do you show the client, hey, this is art I already have that I can create, like you just showed me, or do they come with their own design, or is it a little bit of a mix of both?
Well, in order for me to make money, I need to use my art.
You have to use your art. Okay, true.
Yeah. If like I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I just want a black stripe," and I'm like,
I'm
"Man,
not your gal.
I wouldn't feel right taking your money. I could do it.
Right.
I could design a
Right.
black stripe, but I wouldn't
Super
feel right
fancy one.
taking your money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel right taking your money. You're better off go to the wrap guys. They have stripes. They can just make you stripes. That's easy.
I see it. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but like there's a customer down south of me, and they want like Neptune on their van. They're like a plumbing company, and they want Neptune and all this good stuff. So I can find art where I can tweak it a little bit. But if you just put like pictures of Neptune on the water, it looks like
you don't need. Yeah, exactly. You don't need me. Basically.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, what we should do is put coral reef behind it, make coral reef like blue and gray, change it all blue and gray. So it's like, am I seeing something back there or not? Like give you the illusion that there's some depth to it, and then adapt their Neptune guy to go into it. But I'll do that. It's not my, I want to make people happy, but I just much rather do the art part instead of like throwing in cartoon characters and trying to make it work.
No, 100%. And I kind of didn't connect the dots at first. And like, of course, it's your art that's making it into the thing. You're not just doing a cookie cutter wrap. Now I totally follow Ramona. So, okay. So that's really cool. So where can folks find you in order to look at your work, potentially hit you up for a consultation, or, buy your work?
They can find me on LinkedIn under Ramona Patterson. And then I'm also on Instagram under the Ramona Project #1. And the reason it's the Ramona Project is my business partner invests in a lot of different businesses. And so he names each business that he invests in. The LLC is the like Ramona Project. This is the Ramona Project that he's working on. And then he's got like the Tony Project. So it's, it's not an ego thing. It's just how he identifies the people that he's investing in. Yeah.
And hey, I mean, just naming after yourself's not an ego thing either. Makes it easy to remember. So, okay. So people, can find a LinkedIn Ramona Patterson, or the Ramona Project 1, the number 1.
Yes.
On Instagram. Very cool. And I gave you a couple follows for my personal and my obviously domiciled Instagram. So I can't wait. I took a quick look. Can't wait to look at it further, because again, I don't have a drop of artistic ability in me, but I do appreciate and enjoy it. So I have other abilities. Don't try to save it. I can tell you, like, no, you're creative in some way. Like, no, I'm not.
Wait. I've had people who let me show you something.
All right.
Real quick.
Maybe this is my version of art, right? This is a medium of sorts.
It is, because art comes in all different forms.
That's true.
Plumbing, went to Home Depot, got this plumbing thing. Went to Home Depot, got that thing that catches the leaves on the end of your downspout.
Okay.
We just get you a canvas, pour paint in this, you just drag it across the canvas. There you go.
Done.
You're an abstract artist.
$10,000.
That's how hard it is. I just gave away my trade secret.
No. But it still has to flow. It still has to look good. I remember as a child, I didn't appreciate art. And I remember being on like an 8th grade trip, and the worst place to bring me in the world, the Modern Art Museum in DC. It was a DC. Yeah. So it was like, I remember at one point I found the couch and I sat down on it. It was the couch you could sit on. But I remember looking at this massive wall, like probably way bigger than the wall behind me. And it was just different shades of white. And I was just beside myself with frustration. Like, this is dumb. But since then, I've grown up a smidge. Ramona.
Stuff is dumb.
It is dumb, right? I'm like I stood there, I'm like, I could do this. I didn't. It's my fault. But like, I could. I like stuff I can't do. Like the painting you showed, the painting behind you on the wall, it's not my thing. Like color by number, still rough. It's the staying in the line thing, the pesky staying in the lines. But okay, so the Ramona project, Ramona Patterson on LinkedIn, and then last thing here, I got it. What's the Savage Granny thing? Got it. Where did this come from? Is this self-dubbed? What is Savage Granny? Basically, the name you gave yourself for coming on the show. For anyone listening.
My daughter gave me that nickname like 10 years ago because I ride this machine called a Trike T12 Roadster, and it's basically a racer scooter, but with 2 platforms, and it mimics downhill skiing. And so I've had some serious wipeouts, so I wear like the full motocross gear. And then like when I first moved here, I would ride in the neighborhood. And so my daughter is a dental hygienist, and she'd be like, people are coming in my office and asking me if I've seen that weird lady driving around. And she's like, oh my God, that's my mom. And then I like to demo like cool equipment. So there's this company called Pelagion, and they're over in Plantation, Florida, over by Fort Lauderdale. And they have they have a version of my machine, but it's on water. And so I saw them at the Sarasota Boat Show, and I'm like, hey, like, how far can you take that over? Like, how far can you lead it? Nobody ever asked us that. You know, like, can I demo it? So I'm on the list to go demo it. So I cannot wait. But I like that stuff. I like the one-wheel machine, like the one wheel with the skateboard. I like the electric unicycle, the electric wheel that you stand. Yeah, I like trying that kind of stuff. So yeah,
it's a daredevil. You're a wild woman.
Savage Granny comes from that. Yeah,
I like it. You need to get yourself, when you sell enough of these wraps, you need to get yourself a boat and wrap it with Savage Granny worked in there.
I'm working on that. Yeah,
you're gonna get there.
It's funny in the winter because I ride during the daytime in the winter. I have the weirdest tan, like from my knee and shin guards. I've got these lines across the back of my legs and my arms.
Oh, I bet.
It's bizarre. Yeah, it's bizarre.
You don't go helmet, wrist guards, elbow pads, bikini. That's not your outfit.
No. Yeah, I haven't worn a bikini in like 30 years. That ain't happening.
Me neither. 34 years, never tried on.
Good thing.
Well, I mean, some people might enjoy it. I don't know. I exercise, but no, probably not my look. We'll stick with the shorts. Well, you know, Ramona, is there anything else that you'd like to share from the military side of things, post-military, or about your company, or anything in general that you want to get out there?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, you know, I love serving my country. It was really important to me. Honor is, you know, taking my oath meant everything to me. And I love my country. I love serving it. And I like being an honorable person. I like people to know that when I say something, that my word is very important to me. And I'm excited about this new future with the wrap industry, because I can wrap boats, I can wrap RVs, marine forklifts, buses, jet. I got a really cool, Coral Reef is my jet wrap, my first jet wrap. So I'm excited about that. But it's the wrap industry, as more people want to personalize their car and show their unique personalities, cars and trucks and boats and things like that. It's the wrap industry is just exploding. In 10 years. It's going to be a $44 billion market.
That big it's projected to be? Oh my God.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah.
That is crazy. Well, hey, you're one of the pioneers, so I like to hear it. Couldn't be a better person. So, Ramona,
what? I'm not giving up.
No, don't. You can't, right? You got to stay in motion. Maybe I'll wrap my Mustang one day. I don't know, but just something classy, a little bit, something classy. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
Just a partial wrap. You don't need a full wrap.
Plus, I'm a very traditional guy, so I like things as they are, like simple and elegant. But we can chat about that offline maybe. But so hey, Ramona, thank you so much for hopping on. Paul missed out on a great one. I actually showed him the pictures that you shared, and he goes, "Oh, she was in the military around the time my dad was." So I really want him to be able to get in, because he could have asked even more questions of just stuff he knows about that I don't even know to ask. But it was an absolute pleasure. And yes, again, we always love having veterans on, right? I mean, it's something near and dear to, I think, most of our hearts. It should be. And, again, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. So to everyone listening, please be sure to check us out every other Tuesday at What's Domiciled on YouTube and Spotify why did I just drag that out? On YouTube and Spotify for the full episodes, and YouTube and Instagram for the reels. So we really appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with Ramona and I today. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.